Okay, it says I'm live. I'm going to give a quick check. And I hope you got your smokes now because, well, YouTube is not going to put it up yet. Let's see what happens when I do that. Okay, we're good. I'm going to start with the announcement. I am going to be slowly transitioning the name from mandatory carry to Daetslov Act. Um, don't panic. All right. Upon the advice of literally everyone except my partner, I'm going to be transitioning it. First, it's going to be Mike Charlie Delta Alpha, and then Delta Alpha Mike Charlie, and then I'm just going to drop the Mike Charlie entirely. And the reason is been said before, nobody likes the M word. I don't even like the M word. So, yeah, it's, and this is going to be about a 6-month project. And I got to remember to do it on time. But Delta Alpha just has a whole lot less baggage. Right. Troll, I saw that. Um, on the hierarchy of social media, Discord is the lowest grade of the good ones versus the highest grade of the bad ones, which, ironically enough, is YouTube. Um, so yeah, come back to Discord. Right. I know it's not perfect. There is no perfect. And rejoin the Mike Charlie. You might also want to consider rejoining the Delta Charlie Discord just to piss off the two correct people. You know who I'm talking about. All right. Roy, understood. Don't worry about it. So, the real subject is karma. And karma really is a bitch. I guarantee you, karma will burn you each and every time, even if you don't believe in it. True story here. All right. I was a seaman at a certain Coast Guard unit. This is 3. And there was another seaman there. And this guy had some real history. He had done some things that I'm impressed. All right. Uh, and I don't impress generally at all. This guy impressed me. Now, there's this thing called smoking karma. Now, if you don't know about it, it doesn't apply to you. If you do know and you are a smoker, it applies to you. And unfortunately, if you don't want to know, just hit the fast forward or skip button until I start waving my hands like this. Okay? 3, 2, 1. Smoking karma works like this. If you are a tobacco user, smoker or otherwise, and another tobacco user asks you for a cigarette or a dip or whatever, if you have it, you have to give it to them. Right? Now, there's specific rules about how far you can abuse the karma. There comes a point where, yeah, you can charge him for the cigarette, or no, you can't even ask, or you can tell them, no, I don't got it, can't give it to you. Sorry. My first experience with smoking karma was I was at another Coast Guard unit. I had just run out of cigarettes just for a couple hours. I asked somebody for one. He said, no, I don't got them. I went without for the rest of the day, which really sucked. And the next day, that guy got stuck in the middle of nowhere with no cigarettes for 2 days. I didn't. That didn't hurt me though. Moving on. Skip up to 2003. I will refer to him as the Seaman from here on. The Seaman had done some pretty incredible things in the search and rescue field specifically. Like I said, I don't impress, and this guy impressed the hell out of me. I don't want to dox him or something like that, so I can't really get into it, but he had done a really big rescue deal. So here we are. I think it's just before taps. He turns to me and says, "Carrie, give me a cigarette." Now, I had one pack on me with only one cigarette left in it. Smoking Karma says, "You never take somebody's last cigarette, period, under any circumstances." Another pack out in my car, but I would have to go get it. I look at him, this is the last one of the pack. He says, "Don't worry about it, I'll take it." "I have another pack in my car, don't worry about it, I'll take it." Here you go. All right. So the Seaman takes this last cigarette, he smokes it, he's fine. He's good for the rest of the night. Good for you. A couple months later, about a month later, something like that, he gets orders to what was my first unit. I'm so excited for him, right? I'm just ecstatic because I'm getting out of the unit that we're at together, going to go someplace where I'll be happy. He's getting out of the unit where we're at together. He's going to be someplace where I was happy. I give him a few months to settle in, right? I call him up. I say, this is Petty Officer Carey. I'm looking for the Seaman. The kid who answered the phone, and I remember him from my days there, he's still a Seaman, says, "The Seaman is no longer in the Coast Guard." Whoa. Now, this is less than a year. If you get out in less than a year, you can't get out without dirty paper or a medical discharge, and that medical discharge is not going to read very happy about you. All right. This is you probably should never have come to the party to begin with type paper. I hung up the phone, never even followed up on it. I can't follow up on it. I don't know what happened. And nobody else that I knew from that time period will tell me. So it was pretty bad. The previous experiences with Smoking Karma, I kind of believed it a little bit, but this one totally blew me away. After that, I believed absolutely in Smoking Karma. I will even bend a rule from time to time if the other guy insists, but I will never, ever break Smoking Karma again. I learned my lesson. Thank you very much. That made me believe in karma as a larger subject a whole lot more. And on that subject, now, Texas, for those of you that lived in California in the early 2000s, you remember the rolling blackouts. You remember how certain parties manipulated the situation. And one of the ones I'm talking about is Enron. The collapse of Enron, you would think, would be the end of the karma. People out of work, investors are destitute, on and on. Right now, Texas is in the middle of rolling blackouts. It's not just that karma. More of the karma is also coming from our so-called leaders who are pushing agendas that they knew were not good agendas, right? I was about this tall. I was about 2 or 3. And I remember hearing my grandfather talking about windmills and how he hates them. I even remember My dad saying, well, it's private and there's nothing we can do, blah, blah, blah. Back then, I think my old man was a little bit more liberal than he is now, right? And I remember my grandfather, I hate him, I don't like him, I can't wait to see them all go away, blah, blah, blah. Now I'm here I am, 2 or 3. I don't understand what's going on. I'm thinking windmill, these little cute little things, you put on your front gate or something. It would be a few years before I realized what we're really talking about. Now, the same green windmills that the left basically forced them to take have frozen. They're they're out of commission, and we're not talking one or two. We're talking hundreds of acres worth of windmills that are frozen solid and might, if some of the things I'm hearing are true, might actually have to be disassembled, torn down, because they're that badly broken just from this cold snap. And now Texas is in the middle of really serious rolling blackouts where people are going to freeze, possibly even to death. Karma caught up to Texas. Karma here, first of all, the people who manipulated the energy crisis from roughly 98 to roughly 2002, this is catching up to them, but it's also catching up to those leaders who said, we will go green, we will do it in X time frame, without thinking about what the actual consequences are. And it's not that they don't know. I know that they were told, because this is the first I would hear of it, is people saying, I hate the windmills. They're not reliable. They pollute the land because the blades are made out of uh, carbon fiber, on and on and on. And now they're being proven out. And these leaders knew this was a problem, and they did it anyway. We catch up with chat while you think about that. All right. All right. Yes, Troll, I started actually a whole minute early, despite having kind of sabotaged myself a little bit. Troll says, weird point. If I'm working, I don't smoke generally. I might light it. I might hold it for a mouth unlit for hours. Okay. Smoker karma carries over to pot. It does. He's not even joking. When I go on leave, I don't travel with it. So when I get wherever I'm staying, I'll wander off to find the right person without fail and never arrested. Okay, so you've got a whole lot of good karma points built up. I can, in usually under an hour. So you've got a whole lot of good karma points built up, and good for you. Keep those points built up. I've got, on a scale of, like 1 being just started to say 100 being a maximum possible, I figure I got about 50, 60 karma points built up. And the 40-ish that I'm short, probably half of that even, because I paid for my indiscretions. Troll says rare earths are why the green revolution is dead. No. And he's generally referring to the huge mining operations needed to get mostly the solar and cleaner batteries into commission. And no, we can restore that damage. All right. That's actually really easy if we just do it, and do it in a timely fashion. these former uh, rare metal mines, pits, usually, can actually be turned into really valuable farmland. It just takes a willingness to do it. It can also be turned into a lot of other highly effective functions if you're willing to just do it. Um, Unfortunately, a lot of it comes from regions where the willingness to do it is literally not existent and wouldn't be existent no matter what you do. People will shoot you if you try, and that's an unfortunate fact. But a lot of it also comes from regions where you know better, you could fix the damage, and you chose not to. And that's really, really unfortunate. And that's going to be your own karma that will catch up to you someday. This has brought to light one of my pet theories is converting over to as hydrogen cell as much as humanly possible maybe isn't going to be the slam dunk that I thought it would be. Big part of my theory is to take all of those old solar plants down in Nevada, a few, New Mexico, a couple, mostly in Arizona, the ones that got the big government backing and then failed less than a year later, and convert them to hydrogen production facilities. There would be damage. This is true. But the damage from these hydrogen facilities and the use of the hydrogen would be a whole lot less than what we're doing right now, like 100th as much. It would take probably about 1,000 years to do the damage to the earth that we've done in 100 years. And it would only take 15 to 20 years to recover most of the damage we've done now. By the time we get into the damaging territory, if we're still stuck on this planet, it's because we're not trying and we deserve to die as a species. Hi, Jim. I'll catch up in a second. And that's kind of the way it really is, except that this massive freeze has made me wonder how effective that plan would be. I'm willing to entertain questions. All right. Jim says, "Hey, Carrie and friends. I can't believe I caught you. I do this every Thursday at 1700 Universal, 0900 my time. Just a shitty day, just loading up some 30 while keeping the fire burning warm. Jim, are you caught in the region where these storms are hitting? In which case, you might want to fill a couple extra clips and take the last one out. Talk about that someday, too. Turning to rain, but ice all over. So he's caught in the middle of one of these storms. We just got a 3/16 inch melting away now. 3/16 ice. Ladies and gentlemen, that is basically a half an inch of ice. Ouch. I grew up in that kind of weather. I I truly appreciate how dangerous that is. Not just for drivers either. Troll says, I'm not sweating the mining. I'm speaking of the dissemination of the more toxic rare earths into the world in general. That can be mitigated as well, although efficiency makes a big difference. And that's one of the problems with my concept is the efficiency question. We basically have to bottle up so much of it to prepare for the times when we have to shut down. Can we bottle that much up? I don't know. I really don't. Jim says, never stuff a magazine full. Jim, I'm going to let you in on a little secret. I go out of my way to say clip when I mean magazine to trip the spurgs offline. And it works each and every time. And I'm going to guess you're not that kind of person because you didn't get all upset excited. Troll says it's a little chilly, and Jim asks how. I haven't been to Washington State in about a year now, pretty close to a year. No, well, no, not quite that long. 6 months. I'm going to say 6 months. I'm going to get corrected, and I'm okay with that. Um, so honestly, I wouldn't know. Boss says Texas is a perfect example of why prepping is important. Everything is great until it isn't. Uh, Boss does not even realize how true that is. And I'm not sure he quite realizes some of the difficulties therein. Um, no, Jim, I'm in Nevada. Close enough to Reno that when there's a riot, I can hear it, or I can at least see the fires. You never know. Maybe that video of the fire from Papa Carey's back porch wasn't from Papa Carey's back porch. It was, but I could have seen a riot that blew up in Reno that well. To have made that video, though, I would have had to have doxed myself so hard. Yeah, I might as well have given you my social security number. Um, One of the difficulties with prepping, and this is really exclusive to apartment dwellers. You can't have a generator. You can't have this. You can't have that. You can have a lot of things. You can have USPs, UPSs, and you can have a few things, but you can't have a generator and you can't live off a UPS, uninterruptible power supply. It's basically really fancy battery for more than a day, couple days at most. So unless we want to go back and retrofit every apartment building on with emergency generators, we're going to have a whole lot of trouble. Well, they're going to have a whole lot of trouble. There are some things they can do, and I can tell you from what I have experienced that generally they don't do it. The big one is have a friend outside of town that you can go to their place when that shit hits the fan. They don't do it, and I don't know why. All right. Troll says I load 2 rounds light for storage. Um, it's only that last round that seems to be the issue. Now this is my storage mag, not my actual carry mag. And that's why it's the 10 rounder. When I found out, first of all, when I try to load one, if it's full, it won't seat properly, won't seat easily. Now, I never had this problem in the military. I never had this problem in the military. In civilian life, I've had nothing but this problem. So, okay, fine. Everybody was telling me, take a round out, try it. Even Papa Carey was telling me, take 1 round out, try it. So when Papa Carey said it, I actually finally listened. I took 1 round out, no problem after that. That's the first thing. The second thing I found out, there's a video on YouTube somewhere, and if I can track it down again, I'll share it. That last round, for some reason, is the one that does the most damage to the spring. Who knew? The guy used a big fancy word that I can't even remember. And he says he's an engineer. I got to accept on faith that that's the truth. Sorry. He says he's an engineer. I got to accept on faith that that's the truth. And what he described is that the compression will damage the springs over time. Okay. I knew that. There's like 5 or 6 people that proved it doesn't do that much damage. But this guy says if you take that last round out, it's that last round that does the most damage. Take that last one out, you take something like 50% of the strain off. Oh, wow. I'm in. Okay, guys, I'm not ignoring, but I'm getting a lot from Discord, which I have open right now. Okay, well, it's not that big a deal. All right, catching up. Jim says, I'm hardly ever on Yankee Tango right now. Just give time to Trey Tours much. After a few, I check still. I come check still. Jim, I didn't understand a word of that. Troll says, yeah, but if 28 doesn't cover the bill, I thought one or two more will matter. I got more clips. So Troll is not down with the spurt. Um, yeah, I got like 10. I got 1030s plus the 200s. All right. That's because I may not just be falling back to a friend's place. But then again, I'm also registered with a sheriff's office that I'm supposed to report if they call me. Jim says spraying start crossing it weakens bad. Okay, so I think he means that if the metal is crossing over or rubbing together, and I believe that. As a matter of fact, the engineer I think said something about that, but his big thing was just take that last one out, and you're in great shape. Um, Also, if you have 1030s and you take two out of each, what are you really losing? You're not even losing a whole mag worth and taking a lot of pressure off the spring. Every time you hear that boop boop thing, yeah, it's Discord, which is insisting that somebody's specifically mentioning me, but it's not telling me who or where. It's very annoying. Um, the rest of this. Jim, when it bunches up at bottom, springs start crossing and they break at bends. Yeah, actually, that's exactly what the engineer. That is what I understood the engineer to mean. He's native language is clearly not English, Russian, Lithuanian, uh, um, Ukrainian, something like that. He speaks really awesome English, probably better than I do, but you can still hear it in his accent, and that's what I understood him to mean as well. All right, let's talk about some more karma. How many of you know that I don't like liars? Let me rephrase that. Do any of you know that I don't like liars? I'm pretty sure the answer is big fat no. We all know that certain parties have been lying about certain recent major events that have been going on now for about a year. They've been going on for as many months as they promised us it would be days. That's not a good sign. It means you have to be lying now. For it to go on for saying, 15 days and going on 2 months later, you're going to give this guy a little bit of slack because there's unpredictability, but for it to be going on now for almost as many months as they promised us days, that's going to bite you. Your karma, you just got negative points into the 6 and 7 digit range. just for the lie. And it's not that they're misunderstood at this point. It's not that they're not misspeaking. It's not that they didn't understand themselves. And we know this because there is a certain governor of an East Coast state, which tells you how seriously I'm taking the last threat from YouTube. He probably is going to end up in prison for this. There is no way he thought that this would be okay. And he did it anyway. And now there's memes comparing what he did to a certain long bearded gentleman who had a fascination with planes. Again, tells you how worried or how seriously I'm taking the last threat. The long bearded gentleman didn't do as much damage as this one guy by himself, with an order that he clearly understood was not a good idea under any circumstances. I remember hearing about it June, July of last year and thinking, wait a second, that doesn't sound right. Well, maybe they're doing this or that or something else. Nope. This same governor, right about October, I think it was, got exposed for having hidden, misdirected emergency equipment. And I mean, emergency taxpayers paid for, and not even just taxpayers from his state. I'm talking about every single US taxpayer paid for that equipment. And he put it in a warehouse. For the first week or so, I was willing to give him the benefit of the doubt. Did they put it in the warehouse in a big old hurry and forget? No. It was quite clearly malicious. The paper trail proved that. Oops. He should be in prison now just for that. And now this other thing about long-term residential situations has come out. No, 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 you don't do that. He's not the only one. All right. There's a member of Congress uh, during the events of 6th January who tried saying that opposition party was endangering her life during the events by refusing to wear masks, and then there's a photograph of her not wearing a mask during the exact same event. If you think that your lies are not going to catch up to you, guess again. Right? Y'all know that there are some things that I don't talk about. How close the lie point those come is sometimes questionable. Those are going to catch up to me someday. Now, some of them I straight out explain. I say I live close enough to Reno to see the fires when there's a riot. Yeah, okay. That's not the whole truth, but I think everybody can understand. I'm not going to give you my home address. Right? I've actually punished people and chastised, and there's one person in particular I'm thinking of. She has video of the neighborhood she lived in the middle of a riot, and I jumped her case really hard. Don't do that again. So yeah, I mean, I've told not truth, whole truth, and nothing but the truths. These are some really flagrant lies, and you get caught in them. And people don't like it when you make them look like fools because you lied to them, right? Everybody who's been through this channel, which I know is everybody in chat right now, know I used to be a gun control supporter. I've never made a secret of that. I got my eyes opened up, and when they got opened up, I got really mad about the kinds of lies I was being told. Right. Let me catch up the chat. Jim says, I was not an English major, neither was I. I was a history. Troll says, I ain't no scholar. Actually, I, I guess I am with my history degree. Jim, I was watching some militia channel on Bravo Charlie. Dude said they gave the Pentagon until 1 April to move on the trade tours or they move nationwide. Good luck with that. Well, I'll talk about the militias here in a minute. You know what? Militia channel dude, you go ahead. I won't even pray for your soul. I'm not going to waste my time. And that they informed Pentagon. Troll is pointing out that 1 April is April Fool's Day, so maybe this is a April Fool's Day joke that isn't going to work out the way they planned. Jim says, here's shit everywhere. Just want to see something happen soon. Jim, I'm not going to lie to you. I don't want to see the shit hit the fan. We're at a point where there's too much of a powder keg because we sat on it for so long, right? For those of you familiar with pressure cookers normally have a safety valve. Modern pressure cookers normally have a safety valve that it can't get above such and such a point, but it can still get above that for safety purposes. If you somehow close that safety valve so that it doesn't work, it'll still go bad. It'll still explode on you. The safety valve went off and nobody took the pot off the stove, and now it's that much more uh, overpressurized. When this thing goes, it's going to take a house with it. Jim says April Fool's Day is just another demonic act. Yes. No, April Fool's Day is just a joke. It really is. Hi, Toads. I saw that. Matter of fact, Toads, someday I really want to talk to you about Papa Hotel. Yeah, Papa Hotel. Really, really want to talk to you about that because you and I have that background in common. And unless I'm deeply misunderstood, you're still there. I managed to get out. Love to talk to you about that, bro. Point out, I'm going to throw Total Control 871 Totes kind of under a bus a little bit. He said, what was it, 2-3 weeks ago, that the lies that we were being told about the pandemic is the reason why he's now, well, he walked away from one party for clear and sure. I don't, Totes, correct me if I'm wrong. I'm pretty sure you didn't walk to the other side, which is actually perfectly okay. Back before a certain page involving a former Democrat and I think 5 of his friends. Before that page got nuked because the leader of this movement dared to be in DC on the day. I'm disgusted with a fascist book at this point. Before that happened, though, there was a group associated with this page that I was in, and I would, every once in a while, I would pipe up, just because you walked away from the one doesn't necessarily mean you're walking to the other. You gotta find your new home. And I'll be perfectly honest, um, because that group no longer exists. Where I was really trying to get people was to find a ground, and that middle ground even has a name. Unfortunately, it's a name associated with a very um, well, it's associated with a coup in revolutionary France, the Thermidorian reaction. Right. France, 1880 something, 86, I think. The French king has been uh, deposed and beheaded. His wife has been beheaded. Their son is being starved to death. Yes, that happened. There's a new dictator, and he was not elected. He got him. He elected himself. His name was Robespierre. That's actually his first name or his last name. I can never remember his first name. The first thing he did was take control of the situation by hunting down all of the enemies of the state, right? And there really were some out there, right? He wasn't lying about that. Come up to about a year later, and every week, and sometimes every day, he was appearing before the new legislature and saying, "I have this new list of enemies of the state." And some of these were just weird crimes, like spoke out negatively about a member of the legislature or whatever. One of the ones that particularly gets highlighted, this old woman who called one particular member of the legislature a very bad word that translates into English not very well. Basically, she called him homosexual, uh, dog lover. Okay, well, that's kind of spicy, especially for that era, because the language she used was even more vulgar than what I'm willing to go to. The member of the legislature, he really didn't give a fuck. He heard about it and, oh, grandma must be in a bad mood today. Her name appeared on the list. He himself objected to her being on the list. This is my grandmother. You can't kill my grandmother with my permission just for calling her grandson a bad word. That's one of the big Thermidorian reaction members. I don't know if he was a leader or just a member of it. Thermidorian reaction begins, and it literally was people from both sides who were getting tired of these lists, of people's grandmothers calling them bad words, or even less offensive than that. One that doesn't get as much highlighting as it should was a very, very faithful Catholic who was railing about the Nantes incident. Those of you that don't know, the Catholic Church was very powerful in France back then. They were a government unto themselves. So Robespierre ordered them to be dealt with. Well, cool petty warlord dealt with them by loading them up onto barges and then sinking them in the Nantes River. I've seen the name of one of the barges, maybe both. It was give you an idea of how true this thing is. Even Wikipedia couldn't cover it up. That's where I found the name of the at least the one barge and maybe both. I found them on Wikipedia. Wikipedia is actually in a whole different category of evil social media. And they are the worst of the worst of the worst. They would legitimately beat out Reddit if they were even in that same zone. Even Wikipedia couldn't cover this up. Okay. One of the people on the list had spoken out against the Nantes incident. All right. Thermidorian reaction. Getting back on topic. Members of both sides of the legislature got together and said, this guy's out of control. We have to stop him. We have to stop him now. A couple days later, they got together a couple allies, a couple other people who were upset about the situation. They stormed Robespierre's offices. YouTube will not allow me to tell you what Robespierre tried to do to avoid it, but there's two ways to avoid a capture. One is to escape. There's another way. Neither one is guaranteed successful. And this attempt to escape justice was not successful. By rights, it actually should have been. You cannot hang a dead man. Just saying. I was trying to encourage walkaways to basically form this new temporary alliance of centrists to get rid of everybody. The Democrats, the Republicans, just all of them go away. We'll start over. And those of you that don't want to get with the program and start taking care of the people, you can go to your fourth mansion that you bought with campaign contributions, because God knows everyone needs a summer home. Thank you, DM. Maximilian. How do I keep forgetting that? My favorite Robotech character. Maximilian, well, Max Sterling, but Maximilian is his, according to the novels, is his full name. Form this temporary alliance to get rid of all of the troublemakers, and then we'll just start over again. Unfortunately, that walkaway group got nuked, and I don't know what's going to happen next. I know Bravo Sierra is actually facing potential criminal and possibly even prison because he was on or he was physically there, and he's being accused of things that the video says he didn't do. All right. Catch up time. Sorry, guys. God, I gotta stop those rants. Okay, Jim says stuff is going on worldwide. We just don't see it. Hold on to that thought. Gotta put pieces together to see it. Russia leaving Charlie Bravo is big. Burma is just big. Burma is big. Burma is. I'm honestly kind of confused about what's really going on in Burma. I know there was a coup, and YouTube cannot punish me for saying Burma is in the middle of a coup. They could punish me for saying that it was one thing or another if they don't like that one thing or the other. I don't know. And I'm not even going to lie. And should go down here similar. I'm hoping what really happens here, Jim, is that in about 18 more months, 19 more months, you know what I'm talking about. Just going to say, you know what? You lied to us. We all know you lied to us. You need to go away now. And it will not be any way violent, except for the ones that, when they're told they need to go away now, try to do a McMinn County. Flag on the play. McMinn County, 1947, 48, something like that. There's an election. And for those of you that recognize the name, Kingfisher, Huey P. Long, I think it's P, wanted control of that county. So he told basically his paid-for sheriff, to collect the ballots, take them to the jail, and count them there, and correct them there. Sheriff did exactly what he was told. Well, when you're a draft dodger, sheriff, or nuts, and you have a bunch of World War II combat vets, literally every male in the county at this point, except for some of the very, very young and some of the very, very old, were World War II combat veterans. The very, very old ones, a lot of, well, some of them were World or Civil War vets, and they were just as nasty now as they were back then. And some of the nuts older ones were World War One combat vets. The World War II combat vets, they had it bad. Nothing compared to being in a trench for 6 days getting shelled. These guys were just ready to, well, they were ready to blow up everything at one point, because they brought dynamite, as my older daughter would say. They were ready. They were mad. If AOC and a few of the others don't want to face the same situation that that sheriff did, they're just going to accept what happened and walk away themselves. Right. Uh, Tote says it's a temporary alliance with Republicans. If DeSantis runs, I'm going to vote him for POTUS. That's Florida, right? DeSantis is the Florida governor, and I have nothing bad to say about him. As a matter of fact, I've been hearing a whole lot. Totes, your real first name wouldn't happen to start with the letter D, would it? Okay. Jim says, until the machines are gone, it is useless to vote ever again. That's spicy take. And I can't tell you that you're lying. Ah, shit. I just got this video yeeted. Oh well. I'll just take it private like I did Monday's live stream. Maybe that'll buy me some time. Been rigged here for years now. What? No. Jim says been rigged here for years now. I am not in a position to debate the point. DM Foss reminded me, Maximilian Robespierre. Thank you, DM. I don't know why I keep forgetting that. Troll says voting is now useless in Georgia. Biden bump will come to every election. Troll, I think you guys have at least a chance, but it involves a certain county clerk. I'm just saying, remove the rotten apple, and maybe the barrel can be saved. Can't have an organized group of witnesses. They got to go. You're talking about the election observers, the unelected election observers, the people standing outside trying to look through the glass as the cops are hanging up paper nail flag on the play. You say one bad word about the cops with me, you better be ready to go to criminal court to back it up. And if you're ready to go to criminal court to back it up, you got my support. And you're right. The elected officials ordered the cops to hang those sheets to hide what they were doing. Okay, Anon Anarchy, which is a new name to me. Yesterday, some Asians protested about Myanmar thing here in LA. Good. Absolutely. Do they need bail money? Where do I send it? They were yelling, "Wah wah democracy." Okay, this must be a cultural thing. I'm not going to mock it, and I'm not going to go too far out of my way to understand it. But good. And do they need bail money? And where do I send it? you can guarantee if they said the wrong thing about the left, they're going to get into trouble for it. Jim says it's all guerrilla from now on. Hey, Jim, the stand-up battles are going to become a thing of the past pretty quickly here. The Aaron Danielsons are where it's going to go next. Troll says our governor rolled. I'm angry. Good. Be angry. Toad says corrected me. No, it's not D, and I'm gonna move that one. Totes actually like you. No, not in timeout. He didn't do anything to go to timeout. There we go. So I stand corrected, Totes. You and Gay Republican Swag have both said very strong things about Governor DeSantis. Maybe because I'm a big fan of David since 2017 flag incident. That's a spicy take. So it says, damn calls. Your car's warranty. Yeah, your car's warranty. YouTube spams videos that aren't monetized to get paid off content they won't publicly monetize. Yeah, they've done it to me. And I'm not talking about the ones with the copyright strikes. I've seen some of my videos under my personal name. I just wanted to see, how does it look? How do I look? Oh, you look like an idiot. How did you not remember that? That's terrible. I still haven't learned from it. But yeah, I see not even these 2-hour live streams. I saw one of my training videos interrupted by a commercial for something. I don't even remember what it was, but it had nothing to do with the subject matter. It was my splicing 550 cord video. I'm like, how do you put these two things together? Anon says, I don't know. I just saw it online. Okay. Anon, I'm not being rude. I'm actually trying to be polite and make sure we're talking about the same thing. Okay. Well, Anon, after the live stream, in the comments, if you hear anything else, please, by all means, enlighten me. Because I got a pretty good feeling they're going to need bail money. Troll says, I don't answer any numbers not on my phone. I bought my phone for me to use. You want me to respond, send registered mail. Very similar. If I don't know this number, I do not answer anymore. If you are legit, you'll text me and I will know it's you. And there's a couple of YouTubers that do know my personal cell phone number. I'm not just talking about fixed bayonets, all right? Because her late husband was my original partner. He's the 9mm barrel story, for those of you that know it. When she took over his duties because he was starting to not feel right, she got my number. Actually, she had it before that for other reasons, but now she gets to text me about business. As a matter of fact, her wife, after Brett died, her and Angel got married. Her wife has my number. But if Angel texts me in an emergency, I'm not going to throw anybody else under the bus because for the most part, they know who they are. They know why they're trusted with that kind of information. There's one in particular that I could actually text this individual anytime I want. I don't, unless it's an actual emergency. I'm not talking about Angel. I can text Angel whenever I want and tell her to do a million various things. And as a matter of fact, I text fixed bayonets whenever I have an urgent posting and I'm in fascist book prison. Um, okay. Troll says, I block any spam numbers good or any robot number I happen to answer. I get so many of them, I don't even bother blocking them anymore. And almost all of them are being handed out by Vote Red because I gave them $20 back in June. So they're selling it to literally everybody under the sun. I'm so pissed at them. At this point, I just delete it, usually sight unseen. Toad says, I know Troll, but I'm waiting to hear from doctor's office, so I'm on the hook for answering unknown numbers until it's all squared away. I understand. And Troll says, any wrong number, texts, or calls are saved as such in contacts. Okay, fair enough. Um, I don't know how, but I keep getting texts from girls looking to hook up online, whatever. And they're always mass texts. So there was one that came to me and like 5 other people. One guy replied, who is this and why are you contacting me? And I think he said he was 15. Took his information. I texted him quietly off to the side and said, dude, just block the number and block this one. It's a spam call. Don't reply to it again. And unfortunately, that's the best way to kill those spam calls is just don't reply. Troll says, any wrong? Oh, I'm caught up. Um, so yeah, on the subject of karma, I mean, we've got an example sitting here right now. Totes, when he started realizing, probably before I did, how serious the lies really were, he took he took his ball and walked away. And I don't blame him. Um, there came a point where I took my ball and yeah, I'm looking at things as they're actually happening and saying, wait a second, this does not make sense. My breaking point came when the uh, governor of Michigan ordered Michigan State Police to dump nails in the parking lot of a chapel because the chapel was continuing to service parishioners. I'm going to play. It's one thing to say chapels are closed, and it's one thing to tell the police when a chapel is refusing to stay closed that you're going to go down there and cite everybody that comes through or arrest them or whatever. I don't care. But when you say dump nails in the parking lot, no. That endangers people's lives. There's no excuse for that under any circumstances. That was my breaking point. That was my 9 mil barrel point for the pandemic. A realization that no, something's wrong with this story. And everything since then has been just the lies start coming out. Oh, you don't need masks and we need to reserve them. And if he'd stopped and said for the next month, we need to reserve masks for emergency medical personnel, he wouldn't be in this position now. I wouldn't even be able to call him a liar. I'd be like, oh, okay, you need to reserve them uh, for people who need them absolutely right now. Understood. And if he just said something more along the lines of, we need the masks for emergency medical personnel much more urgently, but until we have more, wear a shirt over your face or wear something else to try to control it, I'd be sitting here defending him. Every lie since then, I might even have been defending because he had sufficiently conned me into believing his bullshit. But no, he chose to tell a lie and then turned around and said, oh, no. What I meant to say was, you knew exactly what you were saying when you said it. and now you're busted. So it says sheep are only now starting to question if it all. Let me try this one more time. Sheep are only now starting to question it all after they started to force double masks and keep school shutters indefinitely. Now, Totes, and you're living proof this is true. A lot of the leftists were beginning to question it. I think you said that back in November. Oh, was when you started to catch on, and even the sheep have started saying as recently as December, "Hey, wait a second, something's not fitting here, and I don't know. Why am I trying to force 2 plus 2 into 5?" It's when a lot of people that's when walkaway group movement walkaway group saw a 1 day record rise in membership, and some of these really were the two legs better type. For those of you that haven't read the book, the last lines of Animal Farm, up until this point, the sheep had been trained to say, 4 legs good, 2 legs bad. 2 legs bad, 4 legs good. Right? This was a chant that they were taught to say. Last chapter or so, the sheep go away for a little while. They're off to some special training. And the goats were taken to a special project to chew on some trees. The sheep are gone, and the pigs disappear for a couple days. Why? Well, the last lines, the pigs come back, and these trees have been turned into walking sticks, and they've learned to walk upright with the sticks. The sheep are brought back chanting, "Oh, 4 legs good, 2 legs better." I do that way too well. Um, and yeah, so no, a lot of the sheep um, started catching on as far back as November. Some starting to catch on as far back as June, July, August. I saw a few, and I mean, one of them was somebody I know her from Facebook via a friend, and she was starting to say this something about this that isn't right. Troll says they called my wife Vader and Anon Anarchy. You guys still think people will vax their kids? Uh, Anon, it doesn't matter how many sheep die, or how badly you beat them, or how badly you abuse them. There are some sheep that will always obey you. You being, of course, the people that are manipulating the system, and they will vax their kids, and they will vax themselves, and they will vax their fucking dog. So yeah, that is inevitable. Um, there is an individual that I know who thinks I don't know that she is not going to vax her kids, some of her kids. Um, 2 of her kids are legally adults; they can do what they want. One of them has said no. It has just said no. So, and this is actually one of the sheep. She is a sheep, her son is a sheep, and they both said no. Okay, we're at 1 hour now with 4 views. That's actually, I think, a record. The double masks thing, however, as Totes pointed out, is causing a whole lot more drama than I think they expected. The biggest part of it is the double part, right? The people that the sheep um were okay with wearing masks even while they drive because it's for the greater good, but now they're being told, wait, you want us to wear two masks? Well, where was my mask back in March and April last year when I was exposed and I got it? Uh, and that's when shit starts hitting the fan. You know, this guy's being told he's got to spend twice as much on masks because last year he wasn't allowed to have one and he got it. Now I am actually thinking of somebody in particular. So I declared the whole thing a hoax back in April when they claimed 777 died on Easter Sunday. But magically, George Floyd mass gathering never spread a single virus. It's all a lie. Oh, Totes, I gotta disavow part of that. I know the virus is real. I know people who've gotten it. I know one that spent something like 3 weeks in an ICU because he was extremely high risk. Right? He's, we're, me, Papa Carey, my uncle. Oh, actually, all of my uncles. Yeah, all but one of my uncles are all veterans. One of my brothers is a veteran. This particular uncle was a veteran exposed to asbestos, and he smoked like 2 or 3 packs a day. I smoke a pack a day. This guy would have smoked me under the table until he got COPD, and then he quit. Um, he was also exposed to asbestos and lead dust. Not just lead, but the dust from scraping and painting and all that crap. He's still alive. He's in really bad shape, but he's still alive. So the virus's existence is real. Now I'm pissed because my uncle got it and I didn't. Um, I've said this before, I'll say it again a million times. I want to get the virus. I want to get sick. I know my body. Okay. It's kind of scary how well I know it. I know that I probably did have it back in April, late April or early May, when I was really feeling, ugh, and for love or money, I can get the virus. I will recover probably in about 48 hours. Might feel a little ugh in the next couple of days, but that's it. And everybody says that. And then start donating blood plasma. Love or money. I can do it for the $200 a pint, or I can do it with a tag on it that says, this pint is reserved for. That's not the way it works. The way it works is you donate in the name of X, Y, or Z, and X, Y, or Z has a pint that will be made available to them if they need it. Okay, so it's saying yes, the flu virus is real, just not the pandemic. Well, it depends on your definition of pandemic. Um, Strictly speaking, pandemic is any time that a virus crosses international boundaries. And the virus crossed international boundaries a whole lot. The reaction to it as I got to be very careful because I don't want this whole channel getting yeeted. Um, the reaction to it has not quite worked out the way they thought it would. All right, plug on the play. When I was a watchstander in the Coast Guard, that is, if you call out Mayday, 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 it might have been my voice you heard, my voice responding rather. Um, I learned real quick, if somebody's going to the scene, tell the guy who's in distress, ask the responders, how long do you think it'll be until you get there? They'll say 15, 20 minutes or 30 minutes. It'll take us 30 minutes to get there. I learned real quick, call the guy in distress and add at least 5 minutes. In the case of a 30-minute response time, 10 on top of that, or 5 more on top of that. Yes, we've got a boat on the way, and it'll take them about 45 minutes. How are you holding out? Never lose doing it that way, because the guy who's promising you help is coming. He said they're going to be here in 45 minutes. They were here in 40. They told me 30, but it took them 40 minutes to actually get there because of something they couldn't anticipate, or they just miscalculated. Shit happens. If I tell you it's going to take them 30 minutes and they show up 40 minutes, those 10 minutes, it's just 10 minutes, or even 5 minutes. I told you that they would be there in 30 minutes to get there in 35 minutes. Those 5 minutes are absolutely mind breakingly fearful. Promised me they'd be here in 30 minutes. It's 5 minutes, or it's 2 minutes over, and they're not coming. That's the power of saying it'll take us X amount of time and then lying. President of Chile clearly understood this lesson when he told the people of Chile it could be 2 years until we get these guys out, and we probably are just going to be bringing bodies out. Took him. Somebody correct me in chat. I think it took 2 weeks. All right, and every single one of them came out alive, and that's not even something he could have potentially predicted. He could not have believed that everybody down there was still alive. And there's no, he was telling people we're going to be pulling bodies out of there in 2 years. Even though in the back of his mind, he knew that there were things going on that they were going to try to get these guys out sooner, and it all worked. So 15 days to flatten the curve. Here we are 12 months later. Whose plan worked out better? The worst part is 15 days to flatten the curve. All you had to do was tell a version of the truth. It's going to take us 6 months to flatten the curve. It's going to take us 6 months to get into the spot where we can begin to move forward. And our supposed betters chose to do something else instead. And now I'm going to go conspiracy and say I believe they did that deliberately. They knew it was going to be more than 15 days, and they were trying to make a certain person look bad. One person, you know who I mean. Um, and it kind of worked. It very much helped that they were able to manipulate certain other um, cogs in the machine. You don't have to manipulate the whole machine. One or two cogs was more than enough. But yeah, the response is clearly nothing to do with the reality of the situation. Now, I'm not ignoring, guys, I swear. Oh, excuse me. All right. Ah, damn it. I think it was Jim for that. No, it was before that. Oh, okay. Here we go. Jim earlier said something about the militias. Right. And I've said this before. I'll say it a million times. I don't don't care. Um, every group that calls themselves a militia that I know of is not. It is a gun club under the best of circumstances. Um, and a few of them are outrightly criminal organizations. They just use a fancy word in front of their name or behind it to try to give themselves a legitimacy that they do not deserve. Uh, Totes, you're part of the militia. Anon, anarchy, assuming that you are an American, which gonna, I'll put money on that. Whether you like it or not, you are the militia. Jim, you are the militia. This is not Kerry speaking here. This is 10 USC 2 section 246 and section 311. I'm on the play. Two sections, same title. I don't know why, but it is there twice, and it is exact same language down to the indentations. There is the formal militia, which is what most people think of when, well, literally is the National Guards. And then there is the informal militia. Any one of you can be called up specifically under other federal law by your local sheriff to respond to a public crisis. And it's happened. As far as I know, no sheriff in the last 20 years has called up the public for response to a public crisis, but fire chiefs have. And at least one mayor, just one? I think it's just one. And an traffic controller. That was 9/11, flight 93. Now, small flag on the play here. Strictly speaking, those fire chiefs cannot do this. Strictly speaking, those mayors cannot do this. Strictly speaking, this air traffic controller could not do this. You want to take them to court? Be my guest. I'll be there to testify on the defendant's roster myself. Um, I'll tell you the truth. As I'm sitting there in the witness box, being asked, well, you say, I'll say yes, I did, and I also said that under real world conditions, sometimes the sheriff isn't available and a designated representative has to do it for them. Good luck suing them. Ooh, I just said that out loud. Um, Anytime you are called to public service for an emergency circumstance, yeah, you are the militia as of now. Um, Now, I'm part of a formal militia. It's roughly analogous to another formal militia that's much better known out of New York City, the New York City Police Auxiliary. It's not only formal, but they've got uniforms. We don't have uniforms. They have training. We have informal training. They have chain of command. Our chain of command is the duty captain who reports to the sheriff. All right. So our chain of command is, I'm not happy with it, but it's there to the best of their ability. And oh yeah, by the way, even though it's technically, Even though a fire captain, strict letter of the law, cannot do this, if a fire captain does call us out, I'll go. Um, and as I said a moment ago, or duly designated representative. You go ahead and try to take it to court. Oh, mandatory carry said. No, he actually said, or duly designated representative, which the fire captain or the air traffic controller or the mayor was, because the sheriff was not immediately available. And in the case of the air traffic controller, because it was crossing multiple county lines very quickly, they could not predict which county sheriff. So it's just all of them. Um, if you're of a gun club that is calling itself a militia, you really need to keep a close tab on where they stand on issues. And if there comes a point when you need to walk away, walk fast. I know certain people say, what is it? Oath Keepers, Three Percenters, Proud Boys, and Patriot Prayer are right-wing militias. Proud Boys are a bunch of drunken assholes. That's their worst uh, traits. Um, Oath Keepers and Three Percenters actually do have some really clear um, do and do not. It's roughly analogous to what the U.S. military has, and they will kick you out if you break one of those rules. Um, my understanding is Oath Keepers in particular, you cannot have a second DUI, and you cannot have any felony DUIs on your record. I may be confused about that. This is, third-hand information, but they are really strict about that, and that's, first of all, it's perfectly analogous to where the military was at the time those rules were written, and second of all, it's only a little bit behind the military now. So if you are part of one of the legitimately upstanding groups, like three of the four I just mentioned, if you are part of one of the drunken frat boy groups, or if you're part of one of the legitimate groups, stick with them. Sheriffs know they exist. Don't worry. If you're part of one of the drunken frat boy groups, keep a very close eye on what your buddies are doing. And if you need to walk away at some point, just quietly walk. And if you're part of one of the troublemaker groups, you need to walk away now. Because the difference between a certain infamous 1990s era militia and a street gang, drug dealing street gang, is literally the race of the majority of the members. I'm not even joking. Jim G says, I don't walk away. Sorry, I'm old school, old man, but I will rip most up still. First of all, Jim, I know that last part is true. I've seen your logging video. Second of all, I'm pretty sure at this point in your life, you know a bad actor. I can't imagine you're going to stick by a bad actor at that point. And Jim says, love my old military hardware. Yeah, you were talking about 30 carbines earlier, which tells me that you have an M1 carbine somewhere. And flag on the play, folks. M1 carbine is a perfectly legal weapon for almost anybody who isn't a convicted felon in the U.S. to have. I can't think of anybody who can't have one. Um, it's the M2 carbine when you get into trouble, and not always at that. among much. Yeah, well, no, guys, I have one rifle, that one. I own a second rifle, but I gave that to Papa Carey because the the lake house, there's wolves and coyotes. Well, I've never seen wolves. Coyotes around. There's bears around. A bear might run at the gun shop because it's loud and scary. It's not going to hurt the bear. They might run away because of the loud noise. They don't like the loud noise. And there's other kinds of predatory animals. Um, the lake house is actually, I think it's a 60-acre plot. The front 40 acres is basically under preternatural lease that will supersede property ownership to a major agricultural agribusiness. Dad bought the property knowing that that was the case, so that's on him. And they pay him like $5 a year, whatever. It's ridiculously small sum. Um, and they get to do with it whatever they want. He also sometimes has to deal with deer and elk or mooses or whatever the fuck it is that goes through the field tearing up the crops. Um, I don't know what that. It's a Keltec Sub 2000. I don't know what that's going to do on a moose, on a bear, on or deer. I'm not quite so sure either. It probably will kill a deer eventually. A moose, I think it's going to just piss them off, but scare them off at the same time. Um, that's it. Well, that and the Glock 22. That's the limit of my collection. So I do have the 9mm barrel, drop-in barrel now. Okay. Jim says, helping patriots out on gun brokers short and recouping a little investment. Okay. Um, oh, you're buying off of uh, Gulf Bravo because that's all I said, YouTube. It's Gulf Bravo. And good. Good. Um, the only things I actually want at this point, an SKS, and I mean an SKS, I guess have now gone to $1,500, even though I remember when they were only $300. Um, a Cry Precision 612. I really want one of those because I can mount it on that. And a Glock 27. That's it. I'm very much a practical guy. He's not here to defend himself, so I'm going to tread very lightly. Jim, I know, is familiar with Chaplain Drew. Chaplain Drew is strictly a black powder guy. Um, Actually, I will eventually get a black powder revolver. I'm pissed because Papa Carey has one, and I don't. Um, but generally speaking, black powder is my like last choice thing. And even then, what I would be getting is a black powder um, revolver or breech loader of some sort. And the rifle would not be something that a felon could own under federal law. Contained cartridge, self-contained cartridge, where the dividing line goes. And under Georgia law, convicted felon can't have it either. Yeah, I'm really more of a pragmatist. So Right. Troll says, I'm looking at, did I read that right? I did not read that. I'm pretty sure Troll wrote something wrong here. I'm looking at 242 acres of that swamp I mentioned before. I'm going to walk it next week. I think he may have written that wrong, forgotten a decimal point. Although 242 acres is not, it couldn't be no $15 an acre. So he may not have. Jim says, can't spare much more, but I got 2K more 12 gauge hulls coming soon to load up. I love my Sega. Yeah, I've heard of the Sega. There was a point when I was considering one. Um, but I am very spurgishly insistent that my shotgun has to be mounted to that. That's why I won't take Papa Carey's old 20 gauge. And Troll says that's correct. It's 242. Well, it can't be no $15 an acre like I paid. So yeah, maybe that is right. Toad says, I'm checking my inbox now and getting caught up on everything you sent me. Wasn't ignoring you. No, I thought you were busy, which with our uh, mutual past, I would believe that there'd be very long stretches of time when I won't hear from you. It's unfortunate, and I've been there, done that. So no judgments. Um, hell, Papa Carey didn't hear from me for a month and a half at one point when I was in that position. Yeah, and everybody knows where Papa Carey stands with me. Just saying. Mama Carey wouldn't have heard from me for a month either. She had passed away already. So I'm relieved Mama Carey never saw me like that. Troll says it's mostly non-navigable water, maybe 30 acres above water. And non-navigable, I mean, I'm a coastie. I have a definition for non-navigable that may not necessarily meet your definition, Troll, which is that you could put a kayak in there or a swamp boat or something and get around with poles, bare minimum. So we may not have quite the same definition here. Toad says, yeah, I get busy. Yeah, I believe you. Jim is advising Troll to get a quality canoe or kayak. Yeah, well, depending on how deep that water is. Um, Quality waders might be just as effective at some point. It's not like I don't know swamps. Coastie, remember? So yeah. Damn, Troll, I am really jealous. Jim is also saying getting an airboat. An airboat may not work out for him. Airboats do move. And if that water's too shallow, what'll happen is you'll dig down into the water, you'll touch bottom. Maybe you'll just touch bottom and maybe you'll slam hard into something. So, and it also kind of depends on what Troll plans on doing with that swamp. But I am completely, totally, hopelessly jealous. Speaking of which, Troll says used to be a rice farm and in Indigo takes a canoe, a muddy boat in some places, too many trees. Yeah, believe him. You may not be able to do the airboat just because of the trees, which is not something that had occurred to me until I mentioned it. But you know what? A canoe, possibly with a little electric motor on the side, just go to slow bell the entire time. I Troll, you have my email address, right? If you do, oh, shit, I'll just do it because I give no fucks. Everybody knows I got issues anyway. Okay. Oops. Oh, you know what? I'm going to make that mistake. The bots can't do shit with it. I'm pretty sure you can figure it out from there, bro. Email me. I got something I want to show you about boats. Um. Okay, we're at minute 3. So yeah, karma is coming back to bite people in the ass. When Texas basically raped California and got a very good and decent man removed from the governorship, I'm talking about Gray Davis, was not perfect, but he was a good and decent man. And yes, he was a Democrat. Okay, so what? That is not the defining quality of a bad and indecent man. I remember when Gray Davis stood up to the California legislature and said, "You don't get your paychecks till state employees get their paychecks." That was leadership. He got removed from office because of what would happen a couple of years later when he was governor, inheriting what the Democratic-led California legislature had done, deregulating the electric utilities. Enron exploited, uh, amongst others, exploited. You'd think that that'd be the end of their karma for Enron. When what happened, including the cleaning accident, which was clearly not an accident. But now, no, it's really come back. And the worst part about that, a lot of the people who are getting hurt now had nothing to do with it. Just like a lot of the people who were getting hurt in California had nothing to do with that decision either, myself included. Um, the manipulation of the pandemic starting to catch up, especially with the double mask thing. Oh, you have to wear 2 masks. Bitch, what? You're the same guy that told us this time last year, don't wear a mask. They don't work. Now you're telling me wear 2? What the fuck is wrong with you? What is your major malfunction? Catching up with chat. Jim says, I'm headed to mountain soon. Got year-round spring, 5 gallons per second, and great water. I believe you. Troll says, I'm thinking 40 acres of prawns and 40 of, I can say cannabis on YouTube. That's okay. Baby corn and various wheats, the rest for wetland filtration for the water I use. Okay, good. And also, you know what? Troll just used the scientific word for what I've been telling him he's been doing all along. So, and Jim says, if the new Gestapo KGB don't get me, and way to go, Troll. Yeah, good, good. Troll or Jim rather says, I got thrown out of Sunday for not pulling a mask over nose. Never go again. Go to Trader Joe's. One of the first leftists to turn on the narrative. This was March, April, May or June of last year. Was somebody who did nothing but Trader Joe's until they told her she had to wear a mask and she couldn't. And that, and And that made her wonder, what is this whole story? I'm just saying. Total says, soon they will want you to stuff a sock in your mouth and wear 5 masks on top. You spelt ball gag wrong. Oh, shit. I'm not supposed to say things like that. Yeah, well, sooner or later, it's going to turn into basically a very sophisticated prison movie anyway. For those of you that want to see what the future looks like, watch THX 1138, at least the original version, and A Boy and His Dog. I will have a dog. I'm just saying. Troll says, I'm thinking $350,000 to get the first crop, but breeding prawns fry is a license to print money. I'll breed koi for fun. Oh, koi. Koi is fun. It's not commercially practicable, but they are. Jim says, told the dude I had COPD. He said, don't care if you're in here, got to cover your nose. No. he can he can refuse you service for any reason except discrimination. And if you have COPD, that's discrimination. So I'd recommend you call somebody who might be willing to take an interest, which I think Jim is in one of those states where the attorney general gets bucks. So sorry about that. Try a civil attorney. And yeah, I feel your pain. I've been thrown out of places too. Um, pro tip. Holy pro tip. If you were in the military for if you were in any military facility built on or before something 1995, and the military tells you that facility was asbestos free, they are lying. They're supposed to have corrected that by now and said that it is free of all known asbestos and don't lick the bulkheads. They're also supposed to have stabilized all known asbestos. Problem is there's a lot of asbestos out there that they discovered 2021, 8 years ago. They didn't think was there, and the first cutter I was on was one of the ones where they discovered asbestos they thought had been removed in the 90s. Troll says prawn larva for FBR, other idiots to grow. I did say fry, but I mean baby prawns. Prawn larva. Prawn larva is a license to print money. Okay. Totes says THX was mad creepy. You're not. He's not lying, guys. That is a creepy ass movie. You couldn't even open your medicine locker without the government knowing and questioning your motives for doing it. Actually, yes. It's been a little while since I've seen that movie. Please refresh my memory. Was Jesus on the inside of the medicine locker? I'm pretty sure Jesus was on the inside of the medicine locker. Um, and that's also when Luh, what was her name? La, or was it Lol? He opened the locker, started to say something. The voice comes up. She says, it's nothing, it's all right, and closes it real quick. And that's when the state starts to come in, look around, and eventually got hauled off. Troll says I bred koi as a kid. It would make around 6 grand and would make around $6,000 a year. You looking for investors? Jim says he's never seen it. You need to see it. You need to see at least the original version. Half of the world will look like THX. And if you notice that literally everybody in that movie is white, like whiter than me, there's a reason for that. And a boy and his dog. The other half of the world will look like that. Total says no government surveillance cameras literally asking you what's wrong. Okay. Troll is correct. Totes is correcting me about the medicine locker, and he's okay. I think I'm thinking back on. It appears that we've lost all internet here. That was not YouTube, I swear. Um, I'm gonna. Okay, I'm gonna catch up. Um, Troll said takes an eye for patterns of historical, coy, or unusual patterns. Okay. Um, Troll says, and it's down. DM, I swear that it's not YouTube this time, and it wasn't me boomerang. We, as far as I can tell, we still haven't regained our internet service. I'm literally off of the wireless, the cell service. Um, Jim says one of my clients has huge koi, 15 plus years old. I did not know they lived that long. And yeah, my screen froze with your hand on your neck. Yeah. Good show. Y'all be Troll says be cool and don't let the man get you down. And Totes has got to run away. I know, Totes, I swear it was not YouTube this time. Um, with that in mind, though, regular wrap up is about 5 minutes from now. So, in the vague hope that maybe somebody's still there, I'm thinking I'm going to go ahead and wrap it up a couple minutes early because I do have some things I have to do. Yeah, okay. Gonna dox myself a little bit. I got to go into Reno today and do a lot of shopping, mostly for tools. Um, Want to emphasize this was not YouTube this time. This time it still isn't back, so I guess it's a network shutdown. Um, if you're still there, give me a why or a last question, and if I don't have something in about a minute, I'm gonna go ahead and myself. The topic today was karma catching up to people. You know, my cigarette stories, karma caught up to me or somebody else. Um, the karma of manipulating the California energy market now really hurting some innocent people down in Texas. A lot of innocent people, and there's probably going to be bodies this time. Um, People who manipulated the pandemic when they should have been doing everything they could to unmanipulate a legitimate crisis. Um, on the subject of manipulating a crisis, there's a lot of people that after the 89 earthquake, they tried to manipulate the housing market or the land market. Well, one of them manipulated the market to build this beautiful apartment building, like 50 stories tall. Okay. They did the last 10, 5, something like that, decks in concrete. They put the heaviest part of the building at the top. What? What do you mean you put the concrete at the top and steel everywhere else? So the whole building is starting to lean over. It's leaning over in the direction of the greatest new construction. All of those people are eventually going to pay for their karma. And it's not going to be the people who lied and cheated and stole. It's going to be the people who came along later. And a lot of them are going to get, at very least, gravely inconvenienced when they have to move out because they realize they're being told, you have to move out. This building is going to fall over in a couple days. The World Trade Center was built on property taken from one group of owners, really quite questionably. Karma caught up to the owners of the new buildings 20, 20 years later. Yeah, that was a little bit of karma too, wasn't it? The arrogance of thinking, "I'm more important than you have to leave," and then people for years knowing about how that went down, and at very least, one guy saying, "And I'm gonna take it down." Okay, I'm not getting anything in chat, that's understandable. Keep calm and mandatory carry on. We're really gonna need it.